Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining our Changemakers webinar, hosted by London South East Colleges and the Skills Network. I will just hold on for 2 more minutes to ensure that all attendees have had an opportunity to join. So we will start at 2 minutes past 3. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jack McDougall, and thank you so much for joining us today. Colleagues from the Skills Network and London South East Colleges are really excited that you've joined us today from a wide variety of organisations to talk about the Changemaker programme. Before we begin, this session will be recorded and all of the recordings will be available upon conclusion of this webinar. We will email all of the webinar recordings out. Please feel free to use the chat function to share any questions and comments at any time during the presentation. We will address as many of these as possible during our Q&A period. Once again, thank you for your participation. We are delighted to have you with us, and we hope that you find today's session both informative and productive. Now, let us begin, and I will hand over to the Skills Network Chief Executive, Mark Daw.
Thank you, Jack. Afternoon, everyone. Great that so many people are joining us. We've had almost 100 attendees across our 2 webinars, just showing the enthusiasm for this program. I'm sure you all know that this has been driven by Sam and Karen and the team at LSEC over a number of years, and it feels like it's really getting some momentum now. Not only have we had great attendance at these webinars, and people are staying on as well, which is always a sign that they're seeing some value in it. But at the AOC conference, Karen had a queue in front of her most of the conference talking about this. So fantastic to have you all here. Great program that we're going to talk about. So this webinar is really covering the overall program, why are we doing it, what does it mean, how you can engage as a college with your learners, the resources that the Skills Network are making available, and also the exciting future of this program as well. It doesn't just stop here. There are many plans going forward as well. So on that note, I'm going to pass over to Sam, who will give a bit more detail about Good For Me and the Changemaker program.
Thanks very much, Mark. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sam Perrett. Hopefully most of you know me. I'm the Group Principal and CEO at London South East Colleges. I'm really pleased to be here this afternoon. It's fantastic to see so many colleges coming together to think creatively about how we can start to recognise and celebrate the skills of so many of the people in our organisations and beyond that are volunteering in our communities. I just wanted to start by giving a little bit of background and context to this really important Changemakers programme and explain a little bit about why we at the Good for Me, Good for FE partnership are partnering with the Skills Network to bring to you these Change Makers Awards. Many of you will know that within the FE sector, the Good for Me, Good for FE campaign launched about 5 years ago now, back in 2021 too. It was founded by London South East Colleges along with our partners at Loughborough College and East Coast Colleges, and it followed the success of the FE Food Bank Friday programme, which was a campaign we launched during the pandemic, and that saw lots of colleges coming together in their communities with staff and students donating thousands of items for food banks and supporting people in need at a very challenging time. And we then started to think about how can we continue working together to really build the roles of colleges as anchor institutions in our communities. And the aim of Good for Me, Good for FE therefore became really to encourage and celebrate the widespread volunteering and fundraising activities that were being undertaken in our colleges and in our local communities by both staff and our students across the country. Since the inception of that programme almost 6 years ago now, we have more than 150 colleges engaged in the programme, and everybody is doing all sorts of different things. Collectively, we're generating millions and millions of pounds worth of social value each year, which we report on individually and collectively. We're also raising money for good causes. We're also still donating lots of items to food banks and clothes banks and hygiene banks and baby banks and all of those other important community assets. But more than that, we're also seeing so many more young people, adults, staff, members of our communities and our student population stepping up and volunteering in this space. And of course, through all that work, we've seen absolutely the positive impact that volunteering and community engagement has on our people in our student population, our young students, our adult students, and of course on our staff. And we've seen the power of volunteering to build confidence, develop essential skills, to improve employability, and it creates, as we know, a real sense of belonging and purpose, but also it's delivering tangible benefits to the individual and to the local community, as well as to a whole range of stakeholders and partner organisations. But we also know that sometimes it's quite hard to access volunteering opportunities. There were some questions in this morning's webinars about how do we encourage those volunteering opportunities, and we can talk a little bit about that over the course of this afternoon as well. And for many people, accessing volunteering opportunities in the same way that accessing work experience can be challenging. It can feel hard to access, it's sometimes difficult to sustain, or simply not relevant to them. And there are a whole host of things we've learned together about how to find, identify, place and support young people in particular in those opportunities. But for volunteers who are already undertaking community engagement activities and volunteering activities, the skills that they gain through these activities, the teamwork, the communication, the resilience, the leadership skills, to name but a few, are not often fully recognised, either by themselves in terms of the skills that they're gaining, or indeed by employers. And that's really where this new Changemaker programme comes in, and why our partnership with the Skills Network is so important. Because these volunteering credentials that we've now developed as a result of working together with lots of other colleges through Good for Me, Good for FE, has enabled us to really think about the potential for more young people and more adults to access these credentials and to have their skills recognised. So the potential here and the accessibility to these awards that is now going to be made available to you through the platforms that the Skills Network have developed are absolutely huge. And so for all of us, we've been thinking about how we might be able to develop and extend these opportunities to many more eligible people. So for us in our colleges, that might mean our 16 to 19-year-olds on study programs. It might be adults, career changers, 16 to 25-year-olds with EHCPs. It might be those not currently in education and training, and those individuals who are working through skills boot camps or through the emerging and new and different range of DWP programs. All sorts of different opportunities to recognise those volunteering and change making skills that either we are overseeing or that those potential students have already been engaged in themselves. So through this new programme, our learners will be able to develop the employability skills and crucially have those skills recognised and celebrated. So in short, what we're able to do now, and you'll be hearing much more about that through the course of this webinar, is to really ensure that volunteering and social action activities create meaningful pathways for our learners, either into further education, training and further educational opportunities, or importantly, into work, into employment and sustainable job outcomes. So it's an absolute win-win, really, I think, that we're going to be presenting you today for our learners, for our employers, for providers and for our local communities. We're really excited to be launching this today. We're excited that you're going to be part of this with us. I would like to say a huge thank you to the Skills Network for its support in helping us to mobilise and enabling us to enable you to reach so many more people in our educational and local communities, and to benefit many more people beyond that as we take the Changemakers programme beyond our sector in due course. Skills Network have been incredibly generous, as have NCFE, in supporting this programme and enabling us to develop these credentials for far more people than we would have ever thought we'd have been able to do, really, when we initially started the Good for Me, Good for FE programme. So I'll now hand over to Neil Coates, who's my colleague at LSEC. He's one of our college principals, and Neil has been fundamental in writing and developing these awards along with a team of qualifications specialists, and he will talk to you a little bit more about how it's going to operate before bringing in Skills Network to talk about the mobilisation and the opportunities. And I know there are some of you here who are already partners with Skills Network, but also many more who will have yet to come to the table, and we are really delighted to be able to mobilise and offer to you to enable you to access these qualifications as well. So all of this together helps us really extend the reach and impact of recognising these important volunteering skills in every learner who can now participate in the programme. So thank you from me. Thank you for supporting the work that we're doing, and thank you for helping us together to collaboratively mobilise and take this forward into our college communities. Over to you, Neil.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Sam. Welcome everyone. I've got a few slides I'm gonna take you through now that just gives a breakdown of what the Changemakers programme is all about and how their opportunities are for yourselves. So as Sam outlined, the Good for Me, Good for FE campaign has brought out lots of opportunities to demonstrate how social value and volunteering can be developed. And what we found is there's a gap in the market about how do we start to really accredit and validate the skills and experiences people have got on for that. And through that work, it started to expand into lots of other areas that people could have opportunities for that I'm going to talk through here. So in its first point, young people is possibly what everyone's come onto this call thinking about. How could we validate the volunteering experience for young people in your colleges? How do we develop the skills? But what we found through the development of this is there's lots of wider opportunities. How do you work with your DWP colleagues in developing skills of people that might be neat or building confidence to get back into employment. How can we use this as a tool to transition people's skills? But more recently, even within the corporate world, we've had organisations come and talk to us about this as a model that I'd love to be able to use for their staff in their corporate and social responsibility. So what we started to think about then is, how do we build a framework that both develops the skills but also validates the volunteering in a dual mechanism, and what we came up with is a framework of micro credentials from that. So the program structure itself is set up in 3 levels. So what we're talking about today is the introductory element of that. So the introduction to volunteering, which is the foundation program. You'd all, in a standard qualification structure, we've got 3 levels. So foundation, intermediate and advanced. And each of those levels have a set of modules. So each one comes with a set of modules which form the elements of the learning. They have learning objectives and criteria. So the work that we're doing with the Skills Network is, how do we take the material that we've got, turn it into an intuitive online platform that people can flexibly access in college, away from college. But there's also a set of material that if you wanted this to be a learned experience and present it at the start of classes, you could do that, or you could just introduce it to learners and they can go through it at their own pace. So we try to build this that is as flexible as possible. So the first 3 modules that learners would go through, so in consultation with stakeholders, of employers, we started to look at the skills they needed to develop and acquire through the volunteering, and these are the first 3 sets. So the first one being effective communication, then moving on to teamwork and collaboration, and then planning, employer management. So each one of those is a separate set of material, each having 4 learning objectives for the learners to be able to go through and have opportunities to be able to see how the volunteering is applied to these areas and how you can build up that evidence. The second part of this is the volunteering hours itself, and there's 3 levels that learners can go through. So the first one, and the one that we're introducing as part of this, is the bronze level award, where the learners need to acquire at least 20 hours worth of volunteering. And as they go through the program, we start to roll out the next stages. They're able to then move that on to the silver and gold elements. So where the uniqueness comes into this is this structure here, and this is what I meant by the micro credential. So this is the element we was hearing a lot about. How do we build up skills, build short-term rewards that hopefully will inspire people to go on to higher levels or more depth. So the way we've built this is there's a vertical element to this, which provides depth. So through the foundation, intermediate and advanced levels, so that develops the skills of the individuals and how do they go from introducing themselves into the practice of volunteering all the way through to how do you lead and develop volunteering within the community. And the breadth, so the horizontal elements of this, is the volume of volunteering that they do. The idea being, as they move through the program and they acquire different elements, they get their micro credential. So what we're launching today is the community starter element of it. So where the learners can access the volunteering material, they can be able to complete the bronze level award to get their community starter micro credential. Through the course of February, we'll be opening out the silver and gold elements with the aspiration of the learners to be able to then move up into the active contributor, making their way to the local change maker. The idea there being, if you have a learner that might be a foundation learner, for example, they might not be able to access higher level skills elements on learning, but have got a commitment to working in the community and working on volunteering hours. They'll be able to work horizontally across the program. And likewise, if you've got learners that actually have got more skills and capabilities and they'll be able to move up the levels, they can move, get deeper, they can get more breadth in what they're doing as well. So the idea being that it's completely flexible to the learners, their experience and the opportunities they've got. So the next steps within this, so like I said, today we're launching the community starter element of it. So that's the initial material at the foundation level and the bronze level accreditation on the volunteering. Through the course of February, we'll activate the silver and gold, hopefully inspiring learners to extend the volunteering hours in the communities and organisations they're working with. And hopefully through March and May, we'll start to introduce the depth of the qualification, that by this summer, hopefully we'll start to see our first full change makers getting accreditation through this. So thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to questions from everyone, and I'm going to hand over to Mark now for the next steps.
Thank you, Neil. And much of what I will say is really reinforcing what Sam and Neil have said, and touching on what we're doing as a skills network as well. I mean, as we all know, it's critical for learners to develop the skills for work and also their ability to contribute to wider society. And that's very much what this is about. Policy has been leaning into employability, enrichment, tutorial support much more recently. You've got the Ofsted absolute focus on inclusion, along with the curriculum and assessment review, talking about focusing on not just the qualification but the non-qualification element part of a study program. And I think one of the phrases that really captures it is a qualification gets you an interview, those wider skills actually get you the job. And that's what we want for our learners. We want them to get that job. But also we know that the whole tutorial system, the enrichment, the employability side of things is being asked to do much more. And definitely I attended last week the Managers of Student Services conference, and very committed people, really keen to do the right thing, but do they have the time and the resource to be able to deliver absolutely everything they're being asked about? And that's one of the challenges, and that's my answer, maybe understandably, would be that use of resources blended in with tutorial time can actually enable a much wider program to be delivered. And that's part of what we're trying to do here with the Good for Me, Good for You FE approach with the resources. We also know work experience is a real challenge. Finding an employer that is willing to provide work experience, they do, but it's challenging to get it for every learner. Whereas volunteering is a win-win. Out there are many that are desperate for volunteers to help them, and those volunteers are welcomed with open arms. So giving the students the guidance to move into volunteering is a critical part of this program, and actually then brings that win-win both for the student and for those organisations they're volunteering for. Learners also don't always recognise the skills they're developing. This program handholds those learners through the process of becoming a volunteer and being a volunteer, and then it helps them identify and develop the relevant skills through volunteering. So yes, they do the volunteering, but do they actually know what skills they're developing? They probably sort of think, oh yes, I'm doing this and that, but getting it down and being able to articulate, I have developed these skills through this volunteering program, is a really important part of the process. And obviously it's great for the colleges and their corporate social responsibility agenda, the activity of the colleges are being involved in through their students in volunteering in their local community. So lots of wins really there. Always easier said than done. So how do we support you as colleges in that delivery? So why are TSN involved? What our expertise, I suppose, is, I don't suppose it is, the delivery of online, whether it's through resources, whether it's through delivery and resources. That's what we do day in, day out. We have over 200 resources supporting tutorial employability enrichment, whether it's for adults or 16 to 19-year-olds. And we believe that this is just part of the system that will enable tutors and colleges to deliver that wider skill set that obviously is so important, I've just talked about. And the Good for Me, Good for FE program is a fundamental part of that, which is why we jumped on this opportunity to work with LSEC. And when I say jumped on this opportunity, Sam gave me a call and said, I'm sure you'd like to be involved in this. And obviously I said yes, because you don't say no to Sam. But yes, so we've applied our approach to resource development, whether it's for accredited resources or these non-accredited support for tutorial. We've applied the same approach to the resource development for this program. The resources are aimed at being engaging, high quality, highly accessible. It's a pick and mix, so you can pick elements if you want rather than doing the complete things. You can plan the program with the learners, and probably what's most important in many people ask about it is you can track every single learner, where they're at, what they've done, how they're progressing. So it gives you live reporting on that. And obviously that means you can go back in, support the learners that maybe not progressing as they should be. And obviously when that knock on the door comes from Ofsted, you've you've got all the evidence you need to show Ofsted all our learners are doing this. This is the progress. This is the impact. So you'll get some more details through this webinar, but in very simple terms, the resources are free for all participating colleges. We work with over 100 colleges already, so they will have our system and we'll be able to just put those resources onto that system. Excuse me. And for those colleges that don't have our equal system, we will set it up for them, show them how to use it, and put the resources for them to use on that system. The next session that is coming from the Skills Network on this webinar is from Chris. He's our development guru. He does this day in, day out, developing resources every single day with his team. And he's done a pre-recorded video to run through our development process to explain how he does it and our approach to ensuring that the resources are effective and engaging, and also ensuring that, as Ofsted want, that the learner has learned through formative assessment, through the way the resources are delivered, through how the learner works through that set of resources. So I'm going to hand over to Chris virtually now on a video that will be played.
Hi there, my name's Chris and I'm the Head of Digital Learning and Teaching at the Skills Network. And our development of online learning experiences is quite unique in the sense of we lead with human-centered design principles, leading with empathy and a dedication to iterate. So we constantly engage with our learners, our end users, and look to improve and develop our resources as time goes on, while always being committed to emergent evidence from the learning sciences on how we as humans learn effectively, and therefore how we can engage our learners more appropriately in the online learning environment to support the achievement of their learning outcomes. And we're really looking forward to synthesizing our online learning design expertise with the established Changemaker program, and the first suite of courses that we've co-developed offer a clean visual aesthetic and well-structured information to support learners throughout their experience. Here's a sneak peek.
As a team member, you will be required to regularly interact with other people to achieve workplace goals.
Okay, that's Chris's little video, and now I think we're moving on to Karen to talk about how you can access the program and support. You're on mute, Karen. Oop. No.
Let's try without the headphones. Is that better?
That works,
right, okay,
yes.
Brilliant. Okay, so hello everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's amazing to see so many of you on the call. My name is Karen Oliver. I am the Good for Me, Good for FE manager, and I have I've been doing this for 2.5 years now. I'm extremely proud of how the campaign has grown over that time, and absolutely thrilled to be talking to you more about the campaign in general and how you can get involved. Next slide, please. Okay, so to give you a bit of an overview of the whole campaign, as Sam has already mentioned, we have over 150 colleges on board across the country, getting involved in a wide range of volunteering and fundraising opportunities. The campaign is all about recognising, rewarding and celebrating those volunteers and the organisations that you support, and we've been doing this since 2021, and we do that in a number of ways. So we can divide the campaign into 4 main strands, and it breaks it down and gives it it's a little bit easier for me to explain to you. So next slide, please. So strand number 1. This is our communication strand. So we offer a comprehensive support package to keep your college informed and updated, and we highlight the amazing work that you do as anchor institutions in your communities. So we do that in a number of ways. I'm in touch with colleges all the time. I will have spoken to either yourselves or other colleagues at your colleges, and I do that regularly in one-to-one meetings, and we have whole Good for Me, Good for FE half-termly meetings, where as many colleges join as is possible. We're very busy, but I get a brilliant turnout, and it's a brilliant way to keep in touch with each other, share best practice. It's a fantastic campaign in that we tell each other what we're doing, we give each other support and inspire each other to do more. We have a Good for Me, Good for FE website. Again, constantly being updated. The campaign is really progressing. Please have a look at the website. It's very helpful. And when we're running our programs such as our annual awards, now with the Changemaker program, some of that information and the links on there will be particularly useful. We have a team site. So all of our partner colleges have lead contacts, and those lead contacts have access to our team site. It's a way of communicating with each other. We share best practice, and we have a document repository. So case studies sit on there, editable posters, all the things that you might need to promote the campaigns within your colleges. Going back to those case studies, they are particularly useful to use as part of our PR campaign. We have our media partners, our FE Week. They are extremely supportive and like to publish our articles when there's something really good coming up. So if you've got things that you want to shout about your colleges and the amazing work that your students and staff are doing, submit those case studies to me and we share them with FE Week and FE News. And at long last, some of you might say, we will soon have our own Good for Me, Good for FE LinkedIn page. So we'll be out on our own socials as well, which is brilliant. Next slide, please. So our social value calculator, this is strand number 2, and it has been going since the beginning of the campaign, but it's developed over the years. So in the very beginning, we worked with the social value portal and we developed a formula that was verified by them as a way to confirm your social value in a monetary figure. Which is brilliant. But at that time, you submitted your data and it contributed to our collective overall amount. So the millions of pounds that we've generated collectively so far. I think my first main task when I took on the role was in responding to your feedback as partner colleges, that you wanted to know what the social value was for your college. So what we've done is we've built a form into the website. You upload your volunteering hours, your fundraising amounts, and your number of food bank donations. And you'll get 2 emails back from that. The first email will confirm the data that you've submitted, and the second email will calculate your social value total for that data submission. And by keeping a record of those emails, you build up a pattern over time of what your contribution is towards that overall figure. This instantly demonstrates the impact and contribution that your college is making, both locally and towards national campaigns. Next slide, please. Our annual awards programme. Now, this, I think everybody knows, this is possibly one of my favourite elements of the campaign. In December, we held our 3rd annual awards the ceremony was at the House of Lords, and it was incredible. The joy in the room, the stories that we heard were absolutely incredible, and those volunteers deserved that celebration. They truly did. So what happens is our nominations open in September. We start planning very soon. House of Lords is already booked for this year. And we start to tell colleges what the nomination criteria will be, what the categories are. We do that towards the end of the summer before you go on leave. And then when you come back, nominations open in mid-September. They close about mid-October, and those nominations go off to our esteemed panel of judges, and we do a bit of name dropping. Just a couple of them. We have David Hughes is the CEO of the AOC, fantastic supporters of the campaign, and Sheila de Grave, who is the outgoing FE Commissioner. They're just all incredible, and they do an amazing job because it must be extremely difficult. They select their 3 finalists, obviously including their winner, and those 3 finalists are announced at the AOC conference in November. I think this year it's on the 10th and the 11th of November. And all 3 of those finalists are invited with their guests and their principals to an amazing celebratory event at the House of Lords. This year it will be on the 11th of December. We've already got the dress code sorted, as Sam pointed out. The 11th of December is Christmas Jumper Day, and in true Good for Me, Good for FE style, we would love to support Save the Children. So get your Christmas jumpers ready for the 11th of December. Next slide, please. So our 4th strand is our new Changemaker programme. Really exciting, and evidences the employability skills that learners develop through their volunteering. Everybody's talked a lot about it, but it's about that pathway and progression to meaningful employment and to achieve greater social mobility. It's also about other things as well. When students are doing their volunteering, it is good for their mental health. It reduces loneliness. They make new friends. Lots and lots of reasons that they should be volunteering apart from what they're putting on their CV, although that is extremely important. But it's the package that makes all the difference. Last slide, please. So the last slide is just my contact details. If you'd like to know more, if you'd like to take part, if you'd like to know if your college is already taking part in the whole programme, as well as the Changemaker, please do get in touch. My email address is karen.oliver@lsec.ac.uk. Our website, goodforme.co.uk, also has a contact form, and that comes to me as well. So I will respond either way, but thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to Jack now from the Skills Network.
Thank you, Karen. Impossible to follow. Brilliant. I would just like to thank all of our speakers today, and for some of the questions that I've been seeing pop up in the chat. I'm acutely aware of the challenges of trying to provide quite a lot of information, particularly about such an important and challenging topic in 30 minutes. So in terms of next steps, over the coming days, I will be reaching out to all attendees to provide both an opportunity to see in a little bit more detail how the equal platform looks and the resources of part of this Changemaker programme. I would like to reiterate as well, and this is as part of giving back to the sector. We will be providing this free of charge, the resources and the equal platform. This is not a try before you buy project. This is genuinely about supporting the sector and students, and this content will remain free. We will absolutely be sharing the recording of this webinar. Please feel free to share with colleagues. I think the more interest we gain in this, the better for organisations and for individuals. And before we move into the Q&As, I did just want to thank everybody again for your time and participation. I genuinely do look forward to working with everybody on this truly remarkable programme. So thank you for your time. And Gail, I'll hand over to yourself for the Q&A session. Thank you.
You, Jack, and if we just welcome back some of the panel into the question and answer session. Thank you for the questions that have been submitted in advance of today and the ones that are popping through now. Neil, maybe you can talk about practical examples of engaging the variety of learners onto this programme. There's a couple of questions around high needs neurodivergent learners as well. Is there some experience you can share around that?
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, one thing to say, and I said on the call this morning, is we've developed this and we work with lots of partners, but we don't want to profess that we're the shining example of the way it's being done. We definitely see this as a community, an opportunity to work with people on the best practice of this working. But the examples that we have had so far is that the reason we've set the framework up to have both that horizontal and vertical elements too is it allows learners at different stages in their education or stages of learning to engage. So it could be that you've got a learner that's got some social anxiety, particularly around sort of like our SEN learners. So actually getting to do them higher levels of volunteering is quite a challenge for them, but they might be able to access further learning. So they could move down the programme over time into the foundation, intermediate and advanced, and gain that bronze level against all fantastic achievement, where likewise you might have another learner that can't access them levels of learning but has got the time and does engage in the community to move across the volunteering hours, so they could then get the foundation award at bronze, silver, gold. So like others have said, we've tried to build this to be massively flexible in the way you can both access the material either via presenting it. So if you've got a set of learners that couldn't access it through the platform, for example, that we've got the learning material offline as well, so you could present this in a lesson format and submit that way. So it really does attempt to try and meet needs of all different learners.
Thank you. That's really, really helpful. And in terms of integrating this into sort of busy staff and learner schedules, what's your thoughts on that, sort of making sure the programme can be scheduled in alongside all of the enrichment activities?
I think what we try to do is try to look at this as not being something extra. It is something that embeds in, and are there opportunities for it to naturally occur? So when we're doing work around work experience, whenever volunteering is being done, when students are getting involved in open events, employer engagements, take those as an opportunity to accredit the volunteering hours, because that'll all count within volunteering. And the learning we see as a way of because the learning is desired to develop some of them softer skills, it would naturally fit really well within tutorials. It could fit well within developing other learning. And if you did use it in a platform with, say, sort of like a sector-based work academy for people that are working on adult programs, this works excellently well on the non-accredited funding framework as well. So you could look to use that to support that learning. I've just noticed the afternoon sun's coming through onto me now.
A little beam of light there. So yeah, that's an interesting point on tailored learning, Neil. Thank you for sharing that, because that was one of the questions. And in terms of evidence and tracking this with a little bit of an Ofsted mind on, does the platform now allow that to happen? Is that a benefit now with the new approach?
It's a massive benefit. As Mark said in his point, that the Skills Network platform was massive, both intuitive but fantastic in the way it tracks learners' progress. So as a tutor or a leader within your institution, be able to look at your learners, you'll be able to see how they're making progress. Are they making it through depth in the qualifications? Hopefully people go on to want to purchase the next layers of that, or is it in breadth within the volunteering, and to be able to use it to inspire others. So you can reward people on their micro credentials as they go through, keep people engaged, and when it comes to the points of Ofsted, you can show the impact of that, so where people have started, how they've progressed through that program, and then you would have to build some really great case studies as well, where students are going to be able to talk about their experiences and how they've mapped the volunteering and learning together to really enhance themselves.
Brilliant. Thank you, Neil. Thank you for all of that. We will share some summaries of these points as well as a follow-up from today. And Karen, I'm going to hand over to yourself. Is there any question there that stands out to you that you'd like to add to conclude the question and answer session? Or oh, sorry, you're on mute there.
I just would like to reiterate around the fact that you were saying fitting it into very busy schedules for students and for staff. If you're thinking about where to start, you don't know where to start, think small, start small. Students often would find it too overwhelming to do something too large too soon. So if you're starting from the beginning, start small with a small project, include students, let them choose what they want to do, and achieve something small, and then they'll want to do more. And if you roll that out within the college, if you advertise that through posters, through your newsletters, through whatever way you share with your students, other students will want to do that as well. And before you know it, you've got a whole college. I have whole colleges. There are Good for Me, Good for Every partners, where whole colleges are involved in volunteering, and students get more confident. They want to do bigger projects, perhaps take on extra responsibility. Again, that links in with the Changemaker programme and those levels that can lead on to leadership, which is amazing. So it is possible to do it, but start small, and that will give you confidence to get bigger.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Back over to you, Karen.
Yes, I think it is. Right, okay. Well, we've come to the end. I can't believe we've come to the end. And on behalf of the Good for Me, Good for FE team, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's been such a pleasure to see so many of you here. Many of you will be Good for Me partners, and I will have spoken to you over the past 2.5 years. Others, I will have met you at the AOC conference, and some of you will be new. So as Sam has already highlighted, the Good for Me, Good for FE campaign was created to support and celebrate volunteering and fundraising across the FE sector. But it's grown into something far bigger, and it's become a movement that champions our local communities, celebrates the power of FE, and creates genuine opportunities for our learners to build skills, confidence and pathways into meaningful employment, and ultimately supporting greater social mobility. We know that volunteering has a powerful impact. It supports mental health, tackles loneliness, builds friendships, and opens doors through new networks. The benefits ripple outwards. I've seen this for myself, from the charities and communities being supported to the volunteers themselves, and to employers who value the skills, commitment, and experience that volunteering develops. As the campaign has grown, so too has the incredible support around it. From our annual awards programme, culminating in that wonderful celebration at the House of Lords that I spoke about. We've been doing that for 3 years. This year will be our 4th. To our amazing partnership with the Skills Network, who have helped us bring the Changemaker programme to colleges across the country. The programme offers a fresh and meaningful way to recognise skills, commitment and impact through the power of volunteering. I'd like to take a moment to thank those who've supported us along the way. We're a campaign. We're not funded directly. So the people that have supported us and helped us on our journey are extremely important. As I've mentioned, a huge thank you to the Skills Network. They believed in the programme from that very, very first conversation and have been brilliant to work with. Such an incredible team. They have developed engaging, accessible resources that genuinely motivate and reward learners. We are also incredibly grateful to NCFE, who supported us from the beginning by sponsoring our awards and endorsing the Changemaker pilot last summer. Thank you as well to the AOC, who continue to provide us with a platform at their annual conference, where we announce our award finalists and where I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you and your colleagues actually in person, which was brilliant over the last couple of years. But our biggest thanks go to you and to our partner colleges. Thank you for steering the campaign, embracing the power of volunteering and sharing our vision. Together, we've generated millions of pounds in social value and inspired each other to support a huge variety of good causes across the UK. I've already been working with many of you, and it has given me enormous pleasure and pride to see how the campaign has developed and grown. For those of you new to the campaign, or maybe you're thinking of reigniting your previous involvement, Good for Me, Good for Effie is completely flexible and works with you to support your college your way. If you sign up to the campaign, you certainly don't sign a piece of paper. We just ask to share your college logo on our website so that everybody knows you're part of the team. You don't have to do the social value calculator. You don't have to nominate for the awards. But if you do, that would be amazing for you as a college and for your students. Please take what you've heard back to your organisations, share it with your colleagues and help us continue to grow this movement. By doing so, we can collectively demonstrate the vital role that FE colleges play as anchor institutions within our communities. I gave you my email address, so please get in touch. I would absolutely love to hear from you. But many thanks again. Many thanks for joining this webinar and for making the difference that you make. Thank you very much. Thank you.